the game show Family Feud? You remember that? I mean, isn't it back? I mean, they bring it back about every, 2 or 3 years with a different host and some other gadget or something. But the beauty of the Family Feud is that the contestants, they don't have to be right in the sense that they don't have to have the right answer. They just have to have the popular answer, right? Remember that? Name the 5 top answers to this question. And they have to get the 5 top answers and they pass it over. You know the game, all right? Well, several years ago, this was the question. And they were asked to guess the most popular answers to this question. Name one of the 12 apostles. Who do you think it was? Who was number 1? Guess again. Getting lots of answers here. Guess what it really was? Ding, ding, ding. Paul. Now see, the tip-off should have been that we're reading from 1 Corinthians, okay? Right now. But see, here's the thing. Paul was not one of the original 12. But that's got nothing to do with the popular answer, right? Again, they don't have to be right. It just has to be the most popular answer. And the most popular answer was Paul. And Paul he did call himself an apostle. The early church did recognize him as an apostle. So you say, well, what is an apostle? Apostle is an emissary, an ambassador. It applies that this person has the authority to act with some autonomy on behalf of someone else. And the early church really did consider Paul to be an apostle. But take a look at the Da Vinci painting. All right, look at the Da Vinci painting of the Last Supper. Any other depiction, you don't see Paul there. Why? Because he wasn't there. Yeah, that's a good answer. He was not there. He just simply wasn't there. Paul was not one of those who followed Jesus during his earthly ministry. As a matter of fact, he was so zealous in his own religious upbringing, which was Judaism, that he actively persecuted the new Christians because he saw that as a perversion of his faith, of his Judaism, okay? So Paul actually converted. We know the story of the Damascus Road literally until God got his attention, blinded him, struck him. That was the point where Saul of Tarsus became Paul as we know him. And in his letter to the church at Galatia, in Galatians, he goes to great pains to point out that after his conversion, even after his conversion, he did not spend a lot of time hanging out with the guys that really walked with Jesus day by day. Okay? He didn't do that. And so that's the reason when we come to the picture of the Last Supper, he's not there. Not that those paintings really matter because they were painted like centuries after, but it is an accurate depiction of the fact that Paul was not one of the original 12, obviously. So Paul wasn't there, but neither were we. Paul wasn't there, but neither were we, and yet we are part of a chain in which the tradition continues to be passed along, right? Second of all, Paul knew a lot more about Jesus than people gave him credit for. Sometimes you hear people disparage or criticize Paul that he doesn't quote Jesus enough. That's actually not true. It really isn't. Let me give you a few examples. Paul knew that Jesus would come like a thief in the night. He references that in 1 Thessalonians 5:2, and you can go back to Luke 12:39 to see Jesus' reference. Paul said that Jesus said that people would kill the prophets and Jesus. That's in 1 Thessalonians 2, and it's also in Luke chapter 22, as it relates to communion. First of all, he knew that communion had its origins at the Passover table. And he also knew that, get this, everyone was welcome. The Passover meal was inclusive. It was not meant to be exclusive. It brought people together around the table to commemorate an event that occurred in their past. It was a celebration of God's deliverance, past and present. And by taking part in the meal, the participants become part of that history. It gave them a chance, it gives us a chance to look forward to the future fulfillment of all that God's going to do with us. And that's what Paul means when he writes to the church at Corinth. He says, "For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes." So what he's saying is it's not the Lord's Supper that we eat when we fail to include. It's not the Lord's Supper when we allow lines of race ethnic background, education, gender to interfere and to separate us. Because